Can you believe that there's some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Period. Power approved. Alright.
Why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth, is it true that your dad has a ringside seat but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome! Yeah!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Callan. Each and every Tuesday, I come to you only armed with my knowledge of wrestling, specifically the NWA, and I want to talk to you, that hashtag NWA fam, about all things National Wrestling Alliance. And I see that I've got some friends in the chat already. Sound off if you're here. Willie Bowen's in the house, and he's got his joke. J-Cal, Tyrus lost his pie and hot dog heavyweight championship. Oh, no! Well, you know, the good news is Joey Chestnut will be welcoming all challengers, I believe, at the Labor Day event coming up in Coney Island for the hot dog eating contest. I am sure, without any shadow of a doubt, that if Tyrus shows up, Tyrus shows out, and he walks away with that hot dog eating title. Who's with me? Anybody? Anybody? Man, there's so much crap over here. My desk is getting messy. I'm starting to look like Meltzer over here. Again, my name is Jay Cal, and every Tuesday we talk NWA with you, the hashtag NWA fam, of course. Tuesday has been the night of all nights for NWA fans because that's when Power used to air on YouTube at 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific. Now you can get NWA anytime on the CW app with new episodes dropping every Tuesday. So this is your pre-party, your post-party, your party when you want to, party like a rock star, however you want to look at it. Now, this past weekend, your boy Jay was out and about. I was at the Lucha Libre event in Cathedral City, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And I got to see Los El Atlantis y Atlantis Jr. Taking on Los Felinos Numero Uno and Felino Jr. I don't even know if that's really their name, but they were there. The Lucha Kings were there and had a hard-fought defeat. I was very sad to see my boys Bamboo and El Rey take a loss over the weekend. Other matches included what were the other matches? I have them. Well, you know, you could go to alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and Lucha Libre information. Am I reading that right? No, it's just wrestling. But when I go to an event, I report on the event. And, of course, like I said, for the Viva La Lucha event, there was also a match with Lucha scumbag Chris Nasty. He defeated Oscar Felix. Mr. Excitement Ryan Kidd defeated CJ Tino. You might have seen CJ Tino if you've been watching United Wrestling Network's Championship Wrestling. Although they're on hiatus now, he was appearing for them before they went on break. Jordan Cruz and the Vegan Superman defeated Eli Everfly, and the Wicked Kelsey Regan defeated Jin Savani, and White Tiger and Malidito defeated the Lucha Kings, as well as Los Atlantis defeated Los Felinos. And that's probably going to be the last event that they hold there, which is very unfortunate because they've had 9 sellout shows at that center. Now, that's at a casino. And the reason, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. These events attract a lot of kids. It's an all-ages event, which is great. But a casino wants events that are going to bring adults who are willing to spend money to the casino. And it's hard to do that when you have kids, when you have your kids with you. So we put up a few of those matches on the Veamos Lucha Libre channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. That is our Lucha Libre sister channel. You can check that out if you're into Lucha Libre. So we are gearing up for Crockett Cup, and we're going to spend some time talking about this on Thursday with DKM, but we're going in completely blind. They have not announced a single match outside of the 10 pounds of gold, which Sam Adonis will be challenging EC3. It would be nice if they had something to build up towards, though. It feels like this match is just been announced on paper, but it's been advertised for weeks. We haven't seen any promos from EC3. We haven't seen any promos from Sam Adonis, formerly known as El Rudo. And I totally understand that this is a matchup that it's not being broadcasted on. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not a pay-per-view, right? So for the NWA, they are not looking at this as like we have to sell pay-per-view numbers. This is just another TV taping. And that's the unfortunate side effect of the CW deal, is that the pay-per-view model is non-existent for them anymore. So there is not a lot of pressure for them to have huge buy rates, because they just need to have the same audience who tunes in week out in the United States to the CW app. It's a shame, though, because I felt like previously when the pay-per-views were in play, when the NWA was on YouTube, you had these natural breaking points, and it would be like after each pay-per-view, the series would redirect a little bit. But now, because there is no like bookend of the beginning or the end of a pay-per-view or the TV show, it's just all kind of together. So it doesn't really flow like a beginning and ending. It's just one season to the next. And because there hasn't been a lot of continuity of where they're filming, like it seems like most of the specific to the TV tapings are being filmed in Tampa at the PBS studios. We get a different look when we're in Dothan, Alabama. We get a different look when we are in, Forney, Texas, as it is rapidly approaching for Crockett Cup. And then you get a different look when it's going to be at the Back to the Indies, which Matt Cardona has just announced that he will be a part of that. Now, Matt Cardona, as many of you know, is currently not wrestling. Matt Cardona is, let me see here. Matt Cardona has recently been injured, so he won't be a part of the in-ring competition for the Crockett Cup, but he will. He'll be there, I guess, doing autographs and maybe cutting promos. Maybe he's going to manage somebody. I don't know, but He will, excuse me, not the Crockett Cup, but Back to the Indies. And that's on Saturday, June 1st. And which, again, we're talking about these events like they're months and months away. No, they are happening fast. They're right around the corner. Of course, we also know, let me see here. And I will get to your guys' comments. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of bouncing around all over the place. I didn't get as much up as soon as I wanted to. Yeah, so we will have Matt Cardona at the return to the Indies, which is going to be kind of a cool event. Not because Matt Cardona is going to be there, but more because I really feel like the NWA is shifting its focus onto something that I think is very important, and that is the lifeblood of the NWA. You're going to have Exodus Pro. You're going to have sorry, brain fart all of a sudden. Joe Kazana Promotions. You're going to have Crossfire Pro Wrestling. You're going to have members of the World League Wrestling. So you're going to have a lot of people there representing the members of who work with the NWA. And again, you know, that's pretty cool. Exodus Pro, Fight the World Wrestling, NWA Chicago, I can't forget them, Crossfire. So, I mean, this is all kind of building up to a pretty extravagant event that will be happening in Knoxville, Tennessee on June 1st. Before we even get to that event, though, remember, you know, we have, like I said, Crossfire this weekend. And then there are other events that are happening, too, leading up to this, which all of a sudden now I'm distraught and can't find them. We know that there will be an event coming soon to Exodus Pro. That event is May the 11th, which is this weekend. We're going to see EC3 teaming with Ashton Day, the man that he beat at the last Exodus Pro show, and Richard Holiday taking on the team of Carson Drake and the Slime Balls. We're also going to have Tiffany Nieves in action as she'll wrestle against Kelsey Heather. I believe this is for the Mission Pro Championship. And then we'll have also Cal Hero in the finals against Dante Casanova for that NWA Exodus Midwest Championship. And then the custody of the Groovy Grizzly, Man Bun Jesus, and the partner of his choosing versus the Stevens family. So things are starting to come together. Also on May the 11th, I see some of your guys' comments. I'll get to them in just a minute. Also on May the 11th, we have this big joint event with the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. Some people are calling this an international event. It's not international. Puerto Rico is still part of the United States. And Puerto Rico is proclaiming itself the last territory. Sounds familiar. But we know that the Women's World Champion, Kenzie Page, will be there. Silas Mason, Kerry Morton, Homicide will all be there. Brian Idol will be there. And Natalia Markova will be there. And also Tom Latimer. That's such a dated picture of Tom Latimer. How could they not find a more recent photo? That's Bram. That's TNA's Bram. That's not Tom Latimer. So that's coming up also this Friday, too. And then, of course, there's the other poster of it. They have a much more modern photo of Tom Latimer. You could also see on the poster who is that right in the middle of the, World Wrestling Council Universal Champion Chris Adonis. And some of the guys have been joking on the Discord that Adonis is going to backdoor his way into a shot at the 10 pounds of gold, and I'm here for it. So I see some of the comments. Let's get to them. Dave Scooby, first and foremost, says, greetings all. So, Jay, who takes over the book at Hollywood? So as much as I really enjoyed my relationship with Dan, and I still have a relationship with Dan, he wasn't the only one producing segments and writing. As Steve G points out, Peter Avalon is also part of the booking committee. Dave Marquez obviously has a voice in it. There's also behind the scenes, Danny Limelight contributes to some of the booking. There is a lot of history and talent there in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and there's a lot of minds for the business. Daniel Hill is certainly a very creative person, and I can't wait to see where he ends up next. He swears it's not the NWA, but I don't think that anyone's going to really be too hurt over this, and I hope that Dan finds something better for him that'll allow him to continue to be creative in the world of pro wrestling and pursue his Hollywood career as well. But yeah, the thing about it though is, and you guys will see this, that unfortunately the United Wrestling Network has been on hiatus, and this, it kind of stems from the show was spending a lot of money last year. They spent more than they were making, and they were doing pretty well, but then some of the sponsors kind of fell through, so they weren't collecting as much money to produce the show, and so there was a inability to produce the show without finances. That's why if you'll see Dave Marquez is now posting about the GoFundMe opportunity where they're looking for help in producing some more content from the United Wrestling Network. I do believe that United Wrestling Network will be back. I do believe Championship Wrestling will be back. We know that they're going to be filming at the Thunder Studios in Long Beach. They still do their co-promotion events with West Coast Pro Wrestling in Irvine, and I hope to see a lot more of what's going on with that whole situation. But again, there's not a whole lot to report yet. If you're watching the United Wrestling Network's weekly program, Championship Wrestling, you're going to see some matches from some of their, I don't want to say affiliates, but some of the friendly promotions like Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. You're seeing content from EPW in Australia. You're seeing content from IWA Puerto Rico, which is interestingly enough, Danny Limelight is defending the United Wrestling Network World Championship in Puerto Rico and IWA, which is the chief rival of World Wrestling Council, who's now partnering with the NWA. So it's kind of fitting, right, that both wrestling companies are gaining a foothold in Puerto Rico. Yeah, we'll see how all that plays out over the next couple of weeks. Now, today, as we are heading to Forney, Texas, your boy Jay's going to be there. Are you going to Forney, Texas? Who's getting horny for Forney? Sorry. That's the worst. I tried. Yeah, I've been excited about this show for a while, mostly because I'm going to go to Dallas to see pro wrestling, and I've never been to Texas to watch wrestling before. Who knows? Maybe your boy Jay's going to go to a baseball game too. I heard the Angels are in town that weekend. Maybe I'll be there. Maybe I'll be there with an Angels hat on. But let's talk a little bit about Dallas, right? Let's talk about some of the history and tradition that's associated with the great state of Texas and the NWA. For example, Pori Hemplo, if you will, brothers. Now, we know that there was a strong NWA presence in the state of Texas during the Bruce Tharp era of the NWA. There were a lot of promotions, NWA Outlaw, Branded Outlaw, NWA, was it Main Event? Now, I can't remember all the promotions, but there was a lot of Top of Texas. There was a lot of promotions that were running in Texas at the time, although there weren't too many that were running specifically in the Fort Worth, Dallas area. Now, if we look a little bit further back, if you look to Ken Taylor's version of the NWA in the Southwest, his promotion was running all over Texas, but they did regular events in Fort Worth. Now, that's going back into the early 2000s when Ken Taylor was promoting in the Southwest. But even before then, one of the stronger territories for the NWA post split from WCW, believe it or not, was NWA Dallas. Now, NWA Dallas didn't last for very long. It was kind of a shot in the dark. In fact, you may or may not know this, that the real interesting part about having the Crockett Cup in Dallas is knowing full well that Jim Crockett Jr. promoted NWA Dallas for about 6 months before he got done with wrestling altogether. Now, when you look at NWA when you look at Jim Crockett Jr., right now, we know that they sold Jim Crockett Promotions to Ted Turner. There was a 3-year no compete clause. So once that clause was up, Crockett was looking to get back into promoting wrestling. Now, obviously, he couldn't do what he did before, but he was trying to go national. He was looking to build up a national company yet again. And it started off with the World Wrestling Network, the WWN, if I'm saying that correctly. And the WWN was it was supposed to be the next big thing. And, you know, the NWA looked specifically to, the WWN looked to promote areas in the Northeast, believe it or not. Now, their first event was in Texas, and then they wanted to start promoting events in the Northeast, and actually had partnered with some former WWE, WCW talent, and actually had Paul Heyman booking the company. Long before Heyman was booking ECW, he was booking this company, World Wrestling Network. And the thing about it is, at that time too, the WWN, they were shooting their matches in high definition. Like, this was long before anybody else was doing that. They were shooting in HD, and the thing that's important about that is, like, the dexterity. If we can go and find that footage, it's going to look like it was shot yesterday, which is interesting. Although they were in Dallas, they ran the Sportatorium. Well, okay, so I'm jumping around a little bit too much. So in '93, they were in, like I said, they did their first event in Texas, and then would go on to move to the Northeast in the New York. But it didn't last. Sorry about that. It didn't last for very long. And again, after they sold the Jim Crockett Jr. sold his stakes in the WWN, and then went to Dallas to start up his third effort at a wrestling promotion. And this was where it got very interesting. When NWA Dallas started, you know, some of the names that were associated with that brand, like, Michael P.S. Hayes, of course, they were running in the Sportatorium when they first debuted on October the 29th in 1994. Junkyard Dog, Tully Blanchard, Black Bart, Rod Price, Scandal Akbar, Chris Adams, Tony Norris, who you know as Ahmed Johnson from the WWE, the aforementioned Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jay Youngblood, Mark Youngblood, Chaz Taylor, Scott Putski, Dick Murdoch, Kevin Von Erich, Sam Houston, Justin Hawk, as we know as JBL from the WWE, the Spiders, who would go on to become the Headbangers, and Jeff freaking Hardy as the Wolverine. That was like a 16-year-old Jeff Hardy. Killer Tim Brooks, Al Perez, Hector Guerrero, Hercules Hernandez, and of course, you love him, I love him, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. Now, the reason why that's important is because they would end up crowning NWA World Tag Team Champions in this promotion. Now, it was the first time that the NWA had crowned champions prior to after WCW and the NWA parted ways. But that's not all. They also had their fair share of title defenses there. Of course, Bambi kicked off the show by defending her NWA World's Women's Championship against Peggy Lee. Other matches or other titles that were defended there, like we said, they crowned the NWA Tag Team Champions post WCW split. But then they crowned. They didn't crown, but they featured the NWA North American Championship. It almost became the main title of the territory. And there were 3 different men to hold that title while in Texas. And that was Greg the Hammer Valentine, Kevin Von Erich, not Kerry. And they also, Justin Hawk Bradshaw, JBL. They did a lot of title defenses too in that 94 to 95 area. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 North American title defenses. And, and this was at a time, again, in 94, think about where WCW was. Think about, Hulk Hogan had just recently debuted for WCW. This was before the NWO. This was before the Monday Night Wars really kicked off. And to be quite honest, Jim Crockett Jr. was trying to look to make a powerhouse, another national ran company. He did fall short, though. The company did have its last event on May the 5th, ironically enough, in 1995, which was, would have been almost 30 years ago, like 29 years ago, just the other day. So it was a lot of good times, a lot of fun stuff. And the cool thing about it is, like I said, they shot in high definition. Now, I don't know how good the quality is. I did look up this on YouTube and found that there are some videos available if you guys are interested in checking it out. Hey, what's up, Hannah? How you doing? You could follow this link here to YouTube, obviously, after this live stream is over, but they do have matches. Now, this is supposed to be the first volume of NWA Dallas. I don't think there was much more than that because, like I said, it literally lasted just less than a year, about 7 months total. And I highly recommend checking it out just for the posterity, the posterity's sake of it, of witnessing the history. And again, I don't think that the NWA front office put this much thought into where they were going to host the Crockett Cup. I'd be shocked to know that they thought this much about it, but it's kind of fitting that they're bringing the Crockett Cup back to Dallas, or they're bringing it to Dallas, I should say. And Dallas was the last area that Jim Crockett Jr. promoted in. I think that's very fitting. And the great Hisa just stepped in and said, speaking of the Crockett's Dallas attempt, even with the nice roster in its early days, they took several weeks to get the alcohol license, and it was brutal for us being there without the beer. So you were there, Hisa? Do you remember so you were there live? What was the atmosphere like? I saw that there was like according to Cage Match, they usually did about 600 people at those events. Was it something that was interesting to you? Like, was it a good time even without the alcohol? I'm just curious about that. And then, of course, I did want to pull up this graphic that I found from his time. I think this was, well, I'm sure this was of his time in NWA Dallas, your North American champion, Greg the Hammer Valentine. In some circles, people thought he was my uncle. It's because we outwardly lied to them about him being my uncle. But yeah, I just think it's kind of fitting that, the NWA is bringing the Crockett Cup to Crockett Homestead. I guess like I said, I don't know if the NWA had planned that. I don't know if this is what their intent was, maybe. And we don't know who's going to show up yet at Crockett Cup, The great Hisa says, I was a front row regular. Attendance was lower than the global wrestling days. It was fun regardless. That's pretty cool, man. That's obviously 94. I was about 15 or 16. I wasn't making it to any NWA Dallas shows. In fact, I didn't actually get to my first, I take it back. I did go to 2 independent shows before the age of 17, but I really didn't go to my first big wrestling event until I was 17. It was like the Arrowhead, the Honda Center is what we call it nowadays, for a live event. But that would have been a lot of fun to have been a part of that time. Yes, it is the pre-party, Kakushi. I haven't seen you around for a while. Hopefully you're cleaned up your life a little bit. No more running around with the loose change. Anyway, Sean Mega says Jazz and Rodney Mack is good with TCW, and that is TCW New Arena. TCW, traditional championship wrestling, or are we talking about something else? Enlighten me, Sean Mega. Got to go out for dinner with guys like James Beard and Tony Norris a few times after the show. Yeah, and James Beard was refereeing for them. And again, that was at the Sportatorium, which again is like I know it's gone now, but it was like hallowed grounds, right? It was very sacred grounds, I guess is the correct expression. Very sacred. For us here in California, we have the Grand Olympic Auditorium, and now that is a church. But Texas style wrestling. Okay. But like that was the mecca of pro wrestling in Southern California. Sure, they had matches in San Bernardino, San Diego, Bakersfield, but the place to be was that Grand Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, and likewise, the Madison Square Garden in New York, and the Sportatorium when it came to Dallas. And it's sad to me that these relics of the past are slowly fading away. I mean, I could still go look at the Grand Olympic. It just doesn't have the same je ne sais quoi, if you will. So can I vent for a second? Well, actually, before I vent for a second, I do want to share with you guys that tomorrow, on a very special episode of the Alliance Blog podcast, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we will be talking to Royce Isaacs. You might remember him as one half of the NWA World Tag Team Champions with Tom Latimer. I'm going to watch him this weekend as part of the New Japan Strong event that's happening on Saturday, May the 11th in Ontario, California. He's also taking part of Jamie Iovan's Anti-Up 2 event that's being presented by our friends over at Epic Pro Wrestling. So we'll be talking to Royce about things that happened in the past with the NWA, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, United Wrestling Network in general. We'll also talk about the Lucha Libre Laughs in Colorado, and of course, New Japan Strong, working in Japan for New Japan, and of course, all the events that are coming up for him. So I hope you guys will be tuning in for that one. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Steve G says he remembers the Olympic Auditorium. I got to go to the Olympic Auditorium on 2 separate occasions, and one of them was the night that New Jack nearly killed Vic Grimes by throwing him off the top of a scaffold. And that was a bad look. That was a very bad look. And I was, to be quite honest, I left before that match happened, so I wasn't there live, which I'm glad I wasn't, because that would have really been a weird situation. And the time before that, I was there for ECW when they made their West Coast debut, and I got to see that event as well. But I never was. I guess I was too young for my parents to think about taking me to those old NWA Hollywood, NWA Los Angeles shows that were happening at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. Steve says, I remember the Olympic Auditorium, seen many events there. Used to be Crockett Promotions' favorite place to hold shows out here. Crockett used to run a lot at the what's it called? The Forum in Inglewood. That used to be where the Lakers played. They used to run a lot at the Inglewood. It used to be called the Great Western Forum, but now it's just the Kia Forum, and that venue has been mostly rehashed for music. Right? They don't do sporting events there, except for the occasional wrestling show that they've partnered with either the WWE or AEW. It's bonkers to think if somebody like the NWA could end up there. Cornette had a few scaffold matches at the Grand Olympics. Steve, are you sure about that? If that's the case, that's something I'm completely unaware of. But I think that would be. I don't know. Willie's saying that Chris Harris of America's Most Wanted was an NWA TNA, was part of NWA Dallas too. That I don't remember, and I'll be perfectly honest, Willie, I did not see that. I know he wrestled a lot for Music City Wrestling. That's where I first saw Wildcat Chris Harris. I don't recall him being in NWA Dallas. And when I was going through Cage Match, they didn't list him directly. Now, the Cage Match isn't 100% accurate anyway. But I think it's I don't know. Maybe he did. I don't know. One thing I do know is I got bad news, guys. I got horrible news. See, I have, your boy Jay's got a few connections in this industry. I have a few friends in some high places. I get opportunities to go to some wrestling shows. I travel the world to watch wrestling. Last year alone, I was in Mexico City for the World is a Vampire tour. I was in Restic Glassboro, New Jersey for the final Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event at the Max Sport Fitness Center. Before that, even just a few weekends ago, I was in Tijuana for Lucha Libre. But, your boy Jay likes to travel. I was at the 75th anniversary show in St. Louis, Missouri. I was in Nashville, Tennessee for some of the TV tapings, right? And the year before that, I went to New Orleans, to Chalmette, right? Chalmette for the hard times, right? So your boy Jay's traveled a lot for wrestling. I've been to Atlanta a couple times for pro wrestling. I've been to Vegas a few times for pro wrestling, Future Stars of Wrestling. One place I'm supposed to be for wrestling, or one place that it's common for me to be is right here in my backyard in Southern California, the Inland Empire, right? You've got Jesse Hernandez, who's San Bernardino with the Empire Wrestling Federation. You've got, Mass Republic just wrapped up doing their Lucha Libre shows at the Agua Caliente Casino in Cathedral City. You've got there's a lot of promotions that run in the Inland Empire. It's a place that was hungry for pro wrestling. We're seeing a lot more of it now, but damn it, they did it to me, guys. They got me, because our world's heavyweight champion is coming to Southern California. Our world's heavyweight champion will literally be 25 to 35 minutes away from my home, and I won't be able to see it. As part of the Wrestling Family Fun Fest, our friends over at Valley Wrestling Connection, Valley Wrestling Connection, are going to have a heap of talent on their next event for over 3 days, 4 great shows over 3 days, featuring your world's heavyweight champion, if he's successful against Silas Mason this evening, debuting for them. Now, they normally use talents like Eli Everfly. Mecha Wolf was on their last event. So was Tortuga. So was Brian Kendrick. He's a regular for them. New, though, are the Devon Dudley's boys, who were at the Crockett Cup last year. And it looks like we see Carson Drake, Rey Horas, NWA Crossfire champion Juventud Guerrera, and of course, 10 pounds of gold, EC3. I'm a little gutted, guys. I won't be home for that. No one consulted me. So I won't get to see your world's heavyweight champion in my own backyard. This will be the second time that EC3 has defended in the state of California. I do have to celebrate Ethan Carter III just a little bit. The man has been taking his 10 pounds of gold all across the country. Even as far as across the ocean, he was in England back on April the 6th. He defended against Drew Marshall. In Indiana, he defended the title against Carson Drake. In Missouri, he defended the title against Steve Fender. In Pennsylvania, he defended the title against Ron Mathis. In Elk Grove, California, which is NorCal, he defended against Drake Frost. In Ohio Valley, defeated Luke Curtis. In Pennsylvania, he defeated John McChesney. Virginia, the Boar. He has been very active as world's heavyweight champion, having defended that title at least 21 times in the last 250 plus days. So you have to celebrate EC3 a little bit, even though I'm so bummed that I'm not going to get to see him live. And it's a bummer because it's like literally down the street. It's just get on the, you take Domenegoni, you take Sanderson to Domenegoni, take Domenegoni to the 215 freeway. You're in Lake Elsinore. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Sam Retro's in the house. What is up, Sam Retro? Now, Sean Mega, you ask a very good question, and man. So again, nobody told me. No, I won't be at the Lucha Brothers event at the old Lucha Underground Arena. I did get to go to Lucha Underground twice before. but I will not be at this event. I'm very bummed out about it because it looks very exciting. Of course, a lot of the talents who will be appearing currently under AEW contract, but got their starts right at the Temple. And to me, it's so bonkers why that isn't still a thing. I understand that it wasn't making a ton of money for the Paramount Network or wherever that show aired. I don't remember anymore. But I feel like there's so much opportunity that the fans still want that. MLW is literally running an event in Chicago this weekend, and it is in the same vein as the Lucha Underground. And, we hear about people who want to start wrestling promotions, specifically, what's his name? Mr. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name right now. But, he's talked about doing a more theatrical style of pro wrestling. And I think that, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The blueprint's right there. If you have the financial backing and the desire to do it, Lucha Underground might be the way to go. Willie Bowen says Chris Harris beat Greg Valentine for the North American Heavyweight Championship there in NWA Dallas. Willie, I'm not going to say that I don't believe you. I'm not going to say that because I don't know. I wasn't there. Although I spent the better part of this afternoon, this morning, going through Cage Match. And, I could see where, from November 12th of 1994 till about May 5th of 95, there were about 7 matches. More than 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 matches where that North American Championship was defended. Now, this is only what is on Cage Match. So, like I said, I'm not telling you that you're wrong. I'm telling you it's not listed on Cage Match. And yeah, Freddie Prinze. Thank you guys, Freddie Prinze. Now, Sam Retro. Now, believe it or not, this is the first the first reprint of this shirt. Before, the fine folks at the NWA Shop Zone, props out to my guy, Danny Deals. He hooks your boy up. He hooks you up. He can be your boy too. I got this from Dave Marquez. This is the old one. I had to pull it out because they're selling it now in the Shop Zone. And if you're looking for shirts, if you're looking for logos that are cool, what about this one? This would look good on you. You can get that shirt for $15 at our Shop Zone in our merch section. You can get it in blue, or royal blue. That's the new color. You can get it in heather gray. You can get it in black, white, or red. Your boy is going to get it in red, and I hope to have it before the Crockett Cup. God willing, I'll be wearing that in Dallas for the Crockett Cup. Also, we have no, that's it. I didn't have the other shirts coming up, but we should have some more logos coming soon to our Shop Zone. Sean Mega says the NWA who should be the EC3's next nemesis in the NWA? Now, we know that Silas Mason gets his opportunity tonight. I don't feel super confident that Silas Mason is going to walk away with the title because, well, more people would be talking about it. Secondly, who should be EC3's nemesis? We know that EC3 will be defending the title against Sam Adonis at the next NWA pay-per-view, or not pay-per-view, signature live event, the Crockett Cup. Who should be the next in line for that? And then my answer to that is, geez, man, I don't know. We were talking about EC3's title reign and who he's faced off against. And, he's had a couple matches against, Matt Cardona, a couple matches against Fodder, but who is he, who is going to step up, right? And within the NWA, I don't think there's somebody that makes a lot of sense, right? Because, of course, we're going to crown a new national champion tonight. There will be a new champion tonight on Power, the new NWA National Champion. And, whoever wins that title, I think you have to start considering that they might be a potential suitor for the 10 pounds of gold. We haven't seen a whole lot out of Max the Impaler and ways of defending the men's television championship. Now, we know that the Lucky 7 series is intact for the women's side, but if Max beats 6 other men or 6 other people for the men's title, I want to be as politically correct as I can here, Max would be guaranteed a shot at the 10 pounds of gold. And that, I think, would get a lot of people talking, maybe not necessarily in a good way, but if you believe that all controversy is good, then potentially could garner some interest for the NWA. But I guess the thing that we have to consider is like who makes sense. Tom Latimer has had an opportunity at the title. He lost. Chris Adonis is no longer a regular for the NWA, so that's kind of a moot point. Silas Mason is challenging for the title tonight. Trevor Murdoch has been more involved as a tag team wrestler, so he might be an answer. Honestly, he's a multi-time world champion, but it seems with his focus more on the tag titles, he's not really made himself available. You look at a guy like JR Kratos, you look at a guy like Odinson. Kerry Morton wants to be the next world's heavyweight champion. So who's going to be the next world heavyweight champion? Or who's going to be the person to challenge? The next nemesis? I think they need to find a nemesis, period, let alone the next one. They haven't done a good job of giving him a rival to build against. Now, don't get me wrong here. Adam Pearce had Colt Cabana. Rob Conway had Kojima. Jack Stain had Tim Storm. Tim Storm had Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis took a while, had Trevor Murdoch. And even to a lesser extent, Trevor Murdoch had Tyrus. They haven't really built up a big challenge for EC3. And I think it's one of the drawbacks of the way that the NWA is running right now is we don't have somebody on the roster who's being built to be a actual challenge for EC3. Not for Max versus EC3. And look, I'll be honest, Steve G, that's not the match I want, but I don't know what their plan is with Max. I want Max to go win the NWA Women's Championship. What Max wants to do is entirely up to Max. What the NWA wants Max to do is to hold the TV titles. But those titles don't mean a whole lot if they are not defending them. If the Women's TV Championship has been more or less inactive since Max won the Men's World TV title, and the only person Max has defended either title against has been Mims. Sean Mega says, I think Mims' heel turn is the beginning of his real push. I mean, that's possible. He's getting a shot at EC3, I believe, this weekend. Or no, not this weekend. Actually, probably already passed. When was the Chicago show? That was May 3rd. So that match has already happened. So, nope, I don't know. Obviously, we would have heard if Mims won the title or if Mario Pardua won, and I don't think either one of them did. So, as it stands, we still have EC3 versus Sam Adonis on May the 18th, just 2 weeks away, or a week and a half away. And, I don't know who would make a good challenger. Who do you think, Sean Mega? Do you think Mims? Do you really think Mims would be the best opportunity to build a challenger for EC3? You know what would be interesting, and I don't know what they're going to do with Black G's yet. I don't know if he's going to be back wrestling, back managing, or doing a hybrid of both. But what if you did put somebody like Black G's with Mims? And I'm not trying to be cliche, but Mims has been a babyface his entire time in the NWA up until recently. I don't think the optics would look right if you put Mims with Aaron Stevens and, Blunt Force Trauma. I don't think that would look good for the optics, but, Black G's managed Tyrus to the World's Heavyweight Championship, managed Tyrus to the TV title. How maybe he could do the same thing for Mims. For that measure. I mean, what about Dak Draper? He's still on the roster. You've got Rolando managing Slade. What's the next for him? Noob says, who's next to challenge Kenzie Page for the women's title? That's a great question too, Noob. And, we just saw Markova get her shot. And again, this is where I feel like the NWA has been dropping the ball. It's creating decent matchups. I don't have a problem with Markova and Kenzie. What I'm having a problem is building up to that storyline. The way that they're determining the number one contender, like through a battle royal. In the old days, they used to kind of build up a number one contender by wins and losses. And I know that we're in the new world of pro wrestling and those don't matter as much. But if you can really build somebody up and have these wins and losses matter and make somebody hot, and I don't care who, like, whether this is for EC3 or for Kenzie Page, you could have a wrestler get a couple of wins and we start talking about him. Somebody like Spencer Slade, managed by Rolando. They're willing to bend the rules, if not flat out break them, right? Have him go on a winning streak. Have him defeat Daisy Kills. Have him defeat Mims. Have him defeat, Kerry Morton. Have him rack up a couple of wins, right? And then make that challenge. Okay, no one can beat me. EC3, where are you? I've got your number. Build it up. And the same could be said for the women's division. I mean, who is the next challenge for Kenzie Page? I mean, if we're going to be honest, it's probably Tiffany Nieves, La Princesa, right? But I mean, there's Missa Kate, there's Taylor Rising. There is, there's a handful of talents available to them. But until they start pushing them into these storylines and having wins and losses matter, I feel like it's just going to be like whoever Billy Corgan decides to put on the poster that week. Steve G says Markova is the NWA's version of Liv Morgan. They just tease her, then repackage them. Yeah. Shawn Mega says Mecha Wolf. I've been saying it for months because I believe he can get a great match out of EC3. I don't think EC3 is not talented. I want to make that clear. I think EC3 is very much the champion that we wanted and the champion we deserve. And I feel like he could have good matches. I just feel like the emotional investment isn't there because the NWA isn't doing their job of building up rivals for him like we've been talking about. So yeah, I love Mecha Wolf, man. It's funny. There's two wrestlers that I see more in Mexico than I do in the U.S. It's Mecha Wolf and it's the Lucha Kings, Bamboo and El Rey. I see them more in TJ than I do in the United States. And it's funny because I go to NWA shows to see Mecha Wolf. He's not even going to be at the Crockett Cup. In fact, he's heavily booked for a card the same weekend. It's the Crash. They're doing an event where Bestia and Rey Horas and Mecha Wolf will be in a triple threat match in a cage. And that's kind of their story that's happening between Lucha Libre, AAA, the Crash, and EWN out there. They all kind of, when they wrestle in Tijuana, they all wrestle in the same venue, the Auditorio Fausto Gutierrez Moreno, their municipal auditorium right there in Tijuana. And that is going to conclude the ending of the La Rebellion that we were used to. So yeah, I mean, Mecha Wolf would be great, but he's not even going to be there for the Crockett Cup. And I feel like whoever's going to be the next challenger for the Crockett for the 10 pounds of gold should be at Crockett Cup so that they can start building them up. And we talked about the Crockett Cup. There's a lot of good things about the Crockett Cup, but we still don't have a single match announced yet, And this Friday, again, we have some more talents that are appearing for Joe Kazana Promotions. We didn't talk about that before, but the Country Gentlemen, the Heat Seekers, Silas Mason, Jack Stain, the Stew Crew, who will be making their NWA TV debut very soon, Freya the Slaya, Sal the Pal, Chris Silvio. I mean, the territories are starting to heat up, and I think there's going to be a lot of good things coming. But as always, we just kind of have to wait and see. So with all that being said, of course, we have to talk about tonight's main event. Let's see real quick. We have for tonight's show, of course, we have the we have a couple matches. Of course, the national championship is the one that everyone's going to be talking about. I think, of course, this is where we're going to finally have a new national champion after Silas Mason quietly released his hold of the belt. But tonight we see the debut of AJ Francis, formerly known as Top Dollar in the WWE. If you've been watching Impact, he's been wrestling for them quite a bit. He takes on Brian Idol. Not really sure what to expect in this match. I'm not the biggest Brian Idol fan. I don't love his in-ring, but he'll be taking on AJ Francis. So we'll see what happens there. The national title will be defended or will be crowned in a four-way match where Tom Latimer, Blake Bulletproof Troop, Paul Burchill, and Zion will all be in action. That one will be as an interesting bout as well. You know, we've seen Zion in limited appearances, mostly working as Idolmania's enforcer with Anthony Andrews, teaming with Anthony Andrews. So, I mean, we don't know where he's going to be at. And, of course, Burchill, when we saw Burchill last, he was challenging for the national title. Well, not last, but the last time. Well, let me say that again. Burchill challenged previously Silas Mason for that title and was unsuccessful in taking that belt off of him. So, in Tom Latimer, he relinquished the title to pursue EC3 similarly to the way that Silas Mason did the same to challenge EC3 tonight for the 10 pounds of gold. So I feel like this is going to be a good event for the NWA. I kind of wish that they would have done a little switching of the matches, and maybe, last week I didn't think POWERRR was a very solid episode, and I feel like either any one of these matches would have been the main event for last week. I just don't know why they decided to make this episode so heavy with the title defenses and the debut of a former WWE talent. Usually that garners a lot of interest. So, of course, we'll see how that works out. And more comments real quick. Sean Mega said, Mecha Wolf versus EC3 and World Wrestling Council Puerto Rico would be huge and could draw thousands if promoted right. Sean, the only problem with that is currently it looks like Mecha Wolf has more of a working relationship with IWA Puerto Rico. I could be mistaken. In fact, now I'm going to look it up because I don't want to tell you misinformation. But let's see. Mecha Wolf, the last time he wrestled in Puerto Rico, which wasn't too long ago. Let me see. According to Cage Match, actually, no, he was wrestling for EPWD, House of Lucha. So, okay. Well, then that changes it. That means, let's see. Let me see one more thing, and then I'll get back to it. Yeah, EPWD is where he's been wrestling mostly, but the last time he wrestled in Puerto Rico with the World Wrestling Council was in 2019. So, hey, maybe there is something to that. Maybe he could show up in that way. He's a former Universal Heavyweight Champion in his own right. He's a former WWC Puerto Rico Heavyweight Champion, and he was a former Puerto Rico Junior Heavyweight Champion, all for the World Wrestling Council. We'll have to kind of wait and see. It is getting close to that 3:00 mark, so we're going to wrap it up today. Willie says, the Stu brothers for your next U.S. Tag Team Champions. That wouldn't be a bad deal. I'm kind of hoping for the Heat Seekers. Chris says, Dollar for NWA champion. Have you learned nothing from Tyrus? And I don't want to put the belt on Top Dollar. I don't want to put any belt on Top Dollar. Let's see him wrestle for the NWA for a few months. Let's build him up. If you want to put the belt on the guy, we can put the belt on a guy. But let me see him beat somebody. Let me see him wrestle a few matches. He's got Brian Idol tonight. Idol right now is currently the World Wrestling Council television champion. Let's see what he does against Brian Idol. If he looks good against Brian Idol, then come back for the Crockett Cup and let's see what you got. Otherwise, stick to TNA and enjoy your total nonstop action. But that's going to wrap it up. Again, want to remind you guys that we do have a very special tomorrow only. We'll be live with Royce Isaacs. That'll be 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Of course, unless something crazy happens. And then on Thursday, the other Alliance guys will be talking. We always talk NWA, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Crockett Cup. We'll give our input on this episode of Power. We'll talk about the pay-per-view buy rates that have been decreasing for both AEW and TNA. And we'll talk a little bit about Cody versus AJ from Backlash, because that's the first time that we've seen two former NWA World Heavyweight Champions challenge for the WWE Universal Undisputed Super Fantastic title. So we'll talk a lot about that too. And I hope you'll join us. But until then, we will see you at the matches. You have a good night now. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day.